Metaxas Show.
I'm not the announcer Todd Wilkerson, but I sound so much like him that Eric asked me to take over.
Evidently, Todd was caught stealing again.
Oh, it was nothing big, just some toilet paper out of the studio bathroom, and little soaps and some potpourri. But still, Eric said it was the principle of the thing.
So he fired Todd's behind just like that.
And now your host, Mr. Law and Order, Eric Metaxas.
Hey there, folks. Yeah, Mr. Law and Order, that's me. I want to welcome you to the Eric Metaxas Show, and I want to welcome my dear friend, Emerson Eggerichs, back to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Look, you're always fun to have because we love to laugh, but you, in all seriousness, have written a book that is like a modern classic. It's called Love and Respect. I remember when you were just beginning to write about these things, and I remember being stunned at the insight that you had pulled out of Scripture. You were a pastor for many years. You were a great exegete. You read the Scripture and you pull things out. But what is this fundamental insight at the heart of your book, Love and Respect? Anybody interested in a book on marriage and a book on male-female relationships, this to me is just seminal, and it's why it's been such a big bestseller. But what is at the heart of, for people who don't know, of this concept, love and respect?
Well, there are two elements. So you have the research. I have my doctorate in family ecology, and so the research out of the University of Washington was stellar. They studied 2,000 couples for 20 years, and they said, we now know the two key ingredients for successful relationships, love and respect. Well, I realized as a pastor, the Bible said that 2,000 years ago. Ephesians 5:33, the summary statement of the greatest treatise in the New Testament, husbands, love your wives, and wives, respect your husbands. But the second part, respecting your husband, I knew it was kind of,
right.
Women say,
that's tricky.
I don't feel any respect for him. It'd be hypocritical for me to do what I don't feel. He's not superior to me. I'm not inferior to him. He hasn't earned it. He doesn't deserve it. I'm not going to give him license to do what he wants to do. I'm not going to be a doormat. I'm not going to lose a sense of myself or sense of my identity. I'm not going to subject myself to emotional abuse. But other than these things, Dr. Emerson, I'm really open to hearing what you have to say about this.
Well, okay, so when you talk about love and respect, again, you're obviously getting it right out of Ephesians. So tell us, this letter that the Apostle Paul wrote to the church in Ephesus 2,000 years ago, what is the scripture verse? Say that again, if you would.
Ephesians 5:33, and it's an imperative of the husbands to love your wives. And no one really debates that. The word is agape. It's a godlike, unconditional love that the husband is to show toward his wife. But no wife in the New Testament is commanded to agape love her husband. That Greek word is never applied to her. Instead, Paul and Peter, no two small apostles, instruct a wife to respect. Well, this is completely foreign. And as I got into this, I began to realize, we have a huge misunderstanding because every man that I know serves and dies for honor. You and I honor each other. We respect each other. We don't see that as a negative thing. If I honor you, I don't feel like I'm losing power. When I believe in your spirit, I show respect for your spirit. I don't respect your bad behavior. That's ludicrous. But I respect you in spite of that. I come across honoring. Well, that's not natural for women when they feel unloved. And this is what gave birth to what I call the crazy cycle. When a wife
wait. I love the crazy cycle, but I want to make sure people are tracking because what you just said is so rich. You've said this so many times in the last 10 years that you forget how big this is. What you just said, okay, first of all, it's totally countercultural today to say that there are hugely fundamental differences between men and women. You're saying that your experience and the Bible say that men respond to respect, women respond to love. Just that statement, people say, well, I don't know about that. So I've observed this only after hearing this from you. It's more and more over the years I've thought, what an incredible insight. It's right there in the Bible. If it's in the Bible, I already believe it's true. But then to see it lived out, that it wasn't just some cultural thing from that time, that to this day, this code of honor among men, you can talk to prisoners, right? They have this code. If you respect me, treat me with respect and honor. It's just kind of this built-in thing that guys have. And you're saying that women, it doesn't mean that women don't want to be respected. It doesn't mean that men don't want to be loved. But fundamentally, men are about respect. Women are about this thing called love. It's right there in Ephesians. And you're sort of, I say that for the first time, you bring this out to help married couples, to say, if you want to understand, wife, how your husband processes what you say, You need to look at it through his eyes of respect. That's what he responds to. And the same for men, if you want to understand your wives. But this is a big thing. Most people don't get this.
Right. Well, and then as you're talking, there are women who are listening, well, I need respect. Are you saying I don't need respect? I can't believe you'd say that. Yes, you need R-E-S-P-E-C-T. We're not debating that. We're talking about this interesting question we've asked 7,000 people, though. We're talking about a felt need versus a true need. We all need love and respect equally. Let me say that 2 more times. We all need love and respect equally. We all need love and respect equally. We're talking about, though, a felt need during marital conflict. And we asked these 7,000 people, when you're in a conflict with your spouse, do you feel unloved or disrespected at that moment? Eric, 83% of the men, and this has been researched again and again, 83% of men said they feel disrespected. 72% of the women say they feel unloved.
This is what I'm saying. This is research. This is factual. This is not subjective observation. I mean, it is subjective observation, but then if you don't believe me and you don't believe Emerson, there's research.
Right.
This is astounding. Well, I mean, it's an amazing fact.
And my goal isn't to stereotype or pigeonhole or put a woman in the corner or a man in the corner, because even in those statistics, we see there are men who want to be loved and there are women who want to be respected. So, I'm not out to debate that. My goal is to help us understand why it is that we have a conflict. For instance, everybody who's done research knows women are nurturers. This is off the charts, Eric. In every research, whatever we look at, women are known in their nature as nurturers. The whole maternal caring, they care deeply about the people in their lives. They care. So in marriage, most men, if you say, does your wife love you? Oh, yeah, she loves me. Does she like you? No, not today. You see, men are typically assured of a woman's love. So during conflict, he's not filtering her as unloving. He just doesn't think that she likes him or respects him. And in her view, the only thing that really matters is that we love each other. So the fact that I'm coming across to you in a negative, disrespectful way that says I don't like you, I don't really mean it in the way that you're hearing it. And therein is where we have a misunderstanding between the genders, because she's really not mean-spirited. Many women will say, yeah, I told him I didn't respect him, but he should know I didn't mean it. But the point we make is that's not how men filter that. And this is where there is an honest misunderstanding. But it comes back again, why these differences? Because women care, men tend to be assured of that care and of that love. He just thinks that she finds him inadequate. Shawnee Feldhan did research, and she called me before she did it. She did a random sample, American male. They did it twice, decision analyst out of Houston. And the question was this: would you men rather be left alone and unloved in the world, or be viewed as inadequate and disrespected by everyone? Almost 80% of the men said they'd rather be left alone and unloved in the world. And women can't grasp that. Shawnee yourself, well, I don't understand. That's because we have a vulnerability in this area. But we've been labeling that as narcissistic, as egotistical. And yet men that we know who are good-willed serve and actually give their very lives for these issues. That's not narcissism. So what I have discovered is there's a huge misunderstanding between people of goodwill, and we've been campaigning on bringing about mutual understanding.
Okay, now the issue, again, I've experienced this in my own marriage. It's something that it's an extraordinary thing, right? When you feel disrespected, at least this is what happens to me, but you say this happens to all men, right? You sort of shut down and push away. You kind of think, I'm done here. And I think there's a good reason for that, in the sense that men are so offended when they are treated with disrespect that the natural response would be like violence or something terrible. And so if that's not an option for you, which it should never be, you just back away. You just say, nope, I'm not going to, Now, if a man disrespects you, you might haul off and hit him. I wouldn't recommend that either. But I'm saying that it is funny how men seem to be created in this way you're describing, that for some reason, and we can talk about it all day long, this issue of respect is huge. And not only did you write about it in a book on marriage, but you talk about how it affects mothers and their sons, that when mothers, treat their sons. So this is really rich. We're going to come right back with Emerson Eggerichs. Stick around.
Would it turn out right?
I'm Eric Metaxas. I'm sitting here with Emerson Eggerichs, my friend and the author of the great book, Love and Respect, on relationships between men and women. Now, we were just talking about this issue of men. For some reason, we can say it's good, it's bad. It's the way men tend to be, and research proves this, that men respond to being respected. It's huge. And when they're not respected, they kind of shut down, walk away. Tell me, Emerson, more about that, because this is a big thing. People, especially women, need to understand this is how guys are.
Right. Well, the large issue, because we're equal doesn't mean we're the same. And each of us has to decide whether that is a true axiom or not. But the University of Washington studied those 2,000 couples for 20 years, and they noticed that during conflict, 85% of those who withdrew and stonewalled, that you were referencing earlier, was the male. And they had men physiologically, they had heart monitor, they had them all. It was very clinically done, doctors, psychologists. And they noticed during these moments that the heartbeats of the male got to 99 beats per minute, which is warrior mode. Now, the women looked like they were out of control. Their heartbeats were normal. Very interesting. The men were stoic, but their heartbeats are 99 beats per minute. So the men either have to fight or flight. And men didn't want to fight, so they shut down. They withdraw.
So this gets back to what I just said.
You just drop it, forget it. I don't want to talk about it. Just leave me alone.
You back away.
Yeah, and you go to another room, she chases you, right? Because she needs to connect. She needs to talk, because it's like she can't imagine. And so the women were asked, what do you feel when your husband does this? And the word they used was, it feels like an act of hostility. That's the word, the descriptor that was used, act of hostility. The lack of love, you see. And so, but my research points out that men do what they do because that's the honorable thing to do. If you and I were best buddies, we got in this heated, moment, we would back away because we've got to calm down because we are lethal. We could hurt each other. We don't just fight with words at a certain point. We fight with our fists.
I'm particularly lethal.
You are. I mean, I can tell that. That's why I stay on the other side of the table from you. But here's the point. Is it an act of hostility or is it an act of honor? It just depends on whether you're videotaping in pink or blue. The other side of the research pointed out that women criticize, complain, criticize, complain, criticize, complain, criticize, complain. The men were asked, what do you feel? Ongoing criticism feels like contempt for who I am as a human being. She's just using the topic as another opportunity to send me a message. She doesn't like who I am. But we know from the research I referenced earlier that women care. So it raises the question, is she doing it because she cares or because she has contempt? Is it an act of care, an act of contempt? It depends on whether you're videotaping in pink or blue. And this is where couples then get into these conflicts and misunderstand each other because she's trying to do the loving thing and she's not even thinking about being contemptuous. He's trying to do the honorable thing and isn't even thinking about being hostile. And yet he's labeled as unloving and she's labeled as disrespectful. Does that make sense?
I'm sorry, what? No, of course. It makes sense. It makes deep sense. This is big stuff, and I just let me ask you. There's a website, correct? What's your website?
Loveandrespect.com.
Okay.
Loveandrespect.com, all spelled out. Loveandr.
Oh, stop that.
Well, but I have a 15-day plan. Yeah, exactly. A 15-day plan that's free that coaches people, that takes them through 7 steps as a kind of the beginner on this.
At the website.
Yes.
Love and Respect.
It's the 15-day plan to help your marriage, even if it's in crisis.
Love and Respect. In other words, you say, like, hey, we've sold 2 million books. We don't need to sell any more books. We're going to give it away free on the website.
Yes.
Loveandrespect.com. Well, you alluded to, no, you didn't allude to, you began to talk about this thing that you have called the crazy cycle. And I cut you off because I said I want to lay the groundwork first. So, okay, let's talk about this. You said in conflict, men and women, because men feel disrespected, because women feel unloved, this thing happens, and you call it the crazy cycle.
Yes.
What is the crazy cycle?
Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love. Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love. And this
round
baby
and
starts
round
to
and
spin,
round you go.
Around. And see, that's where people of goodwill are misunderstanding because she can't imagine him shutting down.
Okay, most people, I'm guessing, didn't get that. So let's back it up. Without respect, he reacts without love. In other words, if my wife disrespects me, my reaction typically is to be unloving.
Well,
and then she is treated unlovingly, and that increases her disrespectfulness toward me, and that increases my unloveliness toward her, and it goes around and around. And this is the typical diagram of the marital spat.
That's what I'm known for. You know, they don't remember my name, Emerson Eggerichs. Oh, you're the crazy cycle guy.
You're the crazy cycle guy.
Yeah, or the love and respect guy. But this is the idea that without love, she reacts in a way that appears disrespectful to him. This criticism, complaint, she moves toward him. We need to talk right now. That begins to feel like control, disrespect, and he just, but that's not her heart. She's trying to do the loving thing because she feels unloved. So too, when he does the honorable thing by shutting down, drop it, forget it, it's no big deal. Let's just move on. We don't need to keep talking about this thing until we're blue in the face, right? So he's trying to do the respectful thing, but in her world that feels unloving. It appears very unloving, and now they spin on that crazy cycle, and they keep spinning because she keeps trying to do the loving thing. We need to talk, and he keeps pulling back, and then people say we made a mistake.
Okay,
no, you didn't make a mistake.
So what you're saying, and unfortunately, I can relate to this because this has happened in my marriage of almost 21 years now. Right now, as I'm hearing you say this, I go, that's exactly what happens in my marriage. So the question becomes, what do we do about it?
Well, you guys, in your case, I think it's somewhat hopeless.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Suzanne and I are just stuck with each other. Yeah, that's it.
I think the encouraging thing is once we kind of understand this dynamic that we're normal, that we're not abnormal, that there's a reason for this, and if we come to a point where we say, you know what, we are allies, not enemies. Sarah and I had to come to a point where we have this crazy cycle moment.
Right.
We get on the crazy cycle every week for a little bit, but we know how to jump off because, look, we're allies, we're not enemies.
Right.
She's reacting because I said or did something that felt unloving to her. Her goal isn't to diss me. And when I shut down, my goal isn't to be unloving, but to calm down. I'm not trying to be unloving, but something was said that I felt, and I could be very immature, but hey, this is how I'm feeling at this point. So what we do is we try to just remind ourselves, we're friends here. We both have goodwill. We don't agree. I would prefer not to talk about it. She would prefer to talk about it. And you have to do that dance. And it may be the other way. Some men are listening and say, well, I'm the one that wants to talk all the time, and she doesn't want to talk. That's because she fears what you're going to do with her emotions. Almost every woman wants to connect emotionally with the man she loves. If she's not opening up and talking, it's because she fears what you're going to do with her emotions. So you're not a reverse situation. You're violating something here in terms of what women consider a decent interaction. But the point is, most of us get on this, and we have to, first of all, understand the dynamic and conclude we're not weird. We didn't make a mistake in marrying this person. We're just like everybody else. And now the question is, what do we do moving forward when it starts getting crazy?
Okay, so this doesn't prove you're married to the wrong person. If you experience this, it proves you're normal.
Well, I have this idea, particularly for Christians, are we going to live by the holy word or Hollywood? If you have an expectation that's 99% that this should be perfect rather than what I call the 80-20.
Right.
1 Corinthians 7:28 says, if you marry, you have not sinned, but you will have trouble. You will have these moments of trouble.
It's normal.
It is normal.
I always say, even the best marriages can be difficult. I consider myself, I have a wonderful marriage, but we have had all kinds of conflict because Suzanne just won't listen. Just kidding. No, but we've had conflict. And you think to yourself, if you think that's abnormal, you think, oh, this is a bad marriage. I should have been married to somebody else. No, this is normal. This is what happens when men and women get together. And that's why what you're saying is so important to understand there's a way through this.
Yes. Well, if it's a moral issue, then it may not be normal. But most conflicts are clashing preferences.
Right.
It's not a black and white issue. It's a gray area. And even 1 Corinthians 7 says that the husband doesn't have authority over his own body, but the wife does. The wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. This is talking about sexual intimacy. Each has equal say with sex. So then I said to the Lord, on Tuesday night, Lord, who decides whether they are or they are not going to have sex? And the Lord in that inaudible way said yes. I said, Lord, have you designed trouble? Because he goes on in 1 Corinthians 7:28 to say, if you marry, you have not sinned, but you will have trouble. And every text has its context. And so you see very clearly that there's going to be tension on Tuesday night about sexual intimacy. This is normal. This is not a situation that would indicate that you have a bad marriage. God has designed some honest conflict between two people of goodwill. It's part of his plan. So we mustn't freak out. Now
I would say, just to quibble theologically, that it's actually part of the fall. In other words, this did not exist in Eden, but as a part of the fall, we're here now, and the only way out of it is to adopt his plan for our lives now, right? But that the fundamental difficulty between men and women is a result of the fall.
Sure. I mean, we were created to be perfect, but I don't want to suggest that the conflicts that we have are all rooted in sin. It's just a different set of needs over the life cycle. Early on, maybe he wants to be sexually intimate more, but when he's 70, he wants to be sexually intimate less. She will have more needs for sexual intimacy later on than he does. There are these seasons. The point, though, is in this case, we have equal authority. Therefore, this is going to create tension. That's normal. And if we can deal with that as mature people and not freak out, we're going to have a good relationship.
Okay, folks, we're going to be right back with Emerson Eggerichs. This is a pretty important subject. I hope you're listening. Stick around.
That's all I ask of you, honey. Take a chance on me. We can go dancing. We can go walking.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
Hey there, folks. The Metaxas Show here, talking to Emerson Eggerichs. The website is loveandrespect.com, and we're talking about the difference between men and women. It's funny, Emerson, because you just talked about this research. Research proves that men have this issue with respect, women have this issue with love. It's like really basic. The research, bears it out. But we're living in a time where people are saying, well, you shouldn't even talk about men and women's differences, that we're the same or something like that. Mm-hmm. But everybody seems to know that's ridiculous.
Well, common sense tells us that. I mean, we can see in marriage relationships that women are caring individuals, and they want their husbands to be as caring as they are. That becomes a major issue, that he needs to be as sensitive as she is. And this, in and of itself, becomes a real issue. And how do we deal with these situations where the male, in this case, may appear less loving than she wants him to be? That is an age-old issue, and it's not going to go away any day soon, and it's rooted in these male and female differences. And as we're pointing out, a lot of times men react in ways that feel unloving to her, but that's not his heart. He would literally die for her if she doesn't kill him first, right? She needs to know that he's a good-willed man who would die for her, but he isn't female in the way he processes. So does that make him wrong, or does that just make him different? Is pink wrong for not being blue? Is blue wrong for not being pink? Or are we just different? And if we can come to this realization where Christ said, have you not read, he who made them from the beginning made them male and female. And we who are Christ followers need to be reminded of what our Lord said, that he made us male and female. And once we understand that, peace can come into that relationship. And that's been my campaign, because my mom and dad divorced when I was 1. Then they remarried each other, but then they separated for many years. I was sent to a military school in 8th grade all the way through senior and high school. So we came to Christ later in life. So I come out of a situation where mom and dad were goodwill, but they were in major conflict. And this is deep in my own heart as a wounded healer, and I want couples to experience mutual understanding.
Well, it's beautiful that you share that, because I think that there is a lot of pain around this issue, and so many wonderful people, well-meaning people, get divorced, things don't work out, and I think that people want to figure out, can I make it work? The price you pay in separating and getting divorced, it's a huge thing, but people typically just don't understand how to do it. They think this is me, or this is just something I can't fix. Your experience over the years has been that many relationships that have been, on the blink, not doing so great, that you can pull them, and on the brink, you can pull them back from the brink, that people who felt there's no hope, you say that there actually is.
Oh, hugely so. We've documented this. I mean, people have experienced healing relatively quick once they understand that there is this misunderstanding. They're on a crazy cycle. Without love, she reacts without respect. Without respect, he reacts without love. And she says to him, but I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just need reassurance that you love me. Well, I'm not trying to be unloving. I'd die for you, but I just lose energy when you come across that way, but I'm not trying to be unloving. And if both of them can be honest and say, really? Yes, really. We we've seen healing as quickly as going through those several sentences. It does, in fact, bring healing relatively quick. And I want people always to have that hope, because people are not mean-spirited. I didn't marry Sarah saying, I hate you and you hate me, so let's get married. So that person that we married is there, but we get in this crazy cycle, we get hurt, we get offended, and we begin to resent them. If we can go back, we had people come who had already been divorced, but for whatever reason they came to our live conference. We average about 1,800 each conference. They'd come, they were divorced. Why they were there, we don't know. And we were researching. There were couples who had filed for divorce. 60% of those couples either got remarried or called off the divorce. This is powerful stuff because it's not complicated. It's very simple. If we will trust, though, that the other person isn't trying to be unloving or disrespectful, but they appear that way. But I will say this, I cannot be negative with Sarah to motivate her to be positive. I cannot be unloving to motivate her to be respectful. And Sarah can't be disrespectful to motivate me to be loving. We have to then understand that there is a way to motivate a person, to influence a person. That's by meeting their deepest need. If you try to deprive them of their need by motivating them to meet your own, it won't work. And so this is what we are all about, helping you develop tools that can meet the need of your spouse when you feel they don't deserve it, and particularly on the heels when you're feeling most vulnerable. And can you, in fact, do that? And we want you to know you can do this. This will empower you, and it's amazing what happens. For instance, we have what we call the respect card. If a woman's listening right now, she's saying, how do you apply this? And the respect card is, I was thinking of today, all the things about you I respect, and I want you to know I really respect you.
So this is a physical card you can give to your spouse.
Or come in and just say it to him personally.
Now, do you sell respect cards?
We do, actually.
At Love and Respect. I didn't know this. Okay,
yeah,
so loveandrespect.com.
But you can say, I was thinking about you the other day that you would literally die for me. That's an overwhelming thought to me. Thank you. I say to women, just do those two things. Write that note. I was thinking of you today, that you would literally die for me. I was listening to a man who said you would, and I thank you for that. I just really respect that about you. And then leave the note, watch what happens. Or come into the room and say, I was thinking about you, all the things about you I respect, and then exit the room. And he'll either follow you or say, whoa, come back, what is it? Watch what happens when you do this. This is why I'm trying to get women to put their little toe in the water and discover the power of this.
It's huge. This is huge stuff. Okay, we're going to be right back, folks, talking to Emerson Eggerichs. The website is loveandrespect.com. We'll be right back.
I got somebody's love, got a hold on me. Yeah, I got a love, I got somebody's love, got a hold on me. Well, I've been in love.
Talking to my friend Emerson Eggerichs, author of the huge bestseller, Love and Respect. Emerson, these books have done well and these conferences have done well because this is resonating. This works for people, right? You were talking earlier about, we've been talking about the same thing, which is this concept. And so what do you say? You said to a woman, try this out. Tell your husband you respect him. Send him a card or a note that says you respect him. Now, for a man, I was just thinking, if my wife is kind of coming after me and I do this thing where I say, shut down, I can't deal with it anymore, I'm getting more and more angry. What does a guy do in that position? Because that happens to guys and they don't know what to do. They storm off, or because they feel their blood, boiling, and it's so funny because I've seen this in my marriage where I know that I'm processing this totally differently.
Exactly. I mean, this is a huge male and female difference, and it's a powerful thing. There have to be rules of engagement. And on this particular one, the rules of engagement with Sarah and me, because we do the same thing. At a certain point, I just shut down. I just.
So even the amazing Sarah does this?
Oh, she's
the worst, right?
No, it's me that's the problem. No, I'm the
Yeah.
problem here. I just shut down irrationally.
Okay.
But so the point, though, is that the rule of engagement is, look, physiologically, as we pointed out, men during these heated fellowship moments, as I call them, this is a moment where his heartbeats, if they get to 99 beats per minute, he is in warrior mode, and we have to understand that. This is what would cause him to throw himself on a hand grenade in a time of battle to save all of his buddies. There is an incredible amount of adrenaline going on. So the rule of engagement with Sarah and me is I have to calm down. And she has to give me the grace to calm down. So I need 15 to 30 minutes to calm down. This is just provoking me. And this is why guys say you're picking a fight. When she's not trying to pick a fight, she's trying to connect. And she's just oblivious to how he could even say you're trying to pick a fight when she's trying to resolve this thing. Okay, but from his perspective, there's nobody that talks to him the way she does. So in his opinion, I don't know what it is about me that you don't like, but I can never be good enough. And you're picking another fight, and you're just using this topic as an opportunity to send me a message you can't stand who I am. But that's not where she's coming from. So now what does a couple do when they have that? He needs 15, 20 minutes to calm down. So the rule of engagement is you got to give him that time away. I know it's a killer to you as a woman. There are many women who say, no way, you stay in his face. No. I hope your sweet daughter-in-law doesn't do that toward your precious baby boy if he gets married to a woman like yourself. You got to give him some space, but then he has to commit to return. Because she gives you the space doesn't mean that you can now just drop it permanently. So I say come back, but stay on point. Don't pile on. This is where you just talk about everything and open Pandora's box. So part of it is for 15 minutes you're going to talk about that issue. 15-minute break, 15-minute talk, stop. Sarah and I then got on a frequency where we would have 15 minutes every day, especially when the kids were younger, where she would just talk to me. I gave her that time. Part of the problem with many men is that the women don't have access to him. And then when she gets freaked out during a conflict, that's when she really needs to connect because she's frightened at the core of her being as a female, which he can't imagine because he's not a female. So you've got to introduce a pattern of connection with her where she has a sense of assurance you're going to be talking together. But then at those moments where there's this heated time, Sarah and I she'd give me a break. And then we'd come back and we'd talk about it for about 15 minutes and then she would stop.
Okay. Have to ask you, you're a pastor. You've been a pastor for many years. I'm a Christian. You talk about this from a specifically Christian point of view. In other words, if somebody listening is a Christian, what do you say to that person about, you said something about doing it unto Christ. In other words, you're in this heated moment. What do I do? Well,
one of the points that we make, and we didn't know how this would play in Peoria, we had what we call the marital satisfaction scales, but we also have a spiritual scale. If your spouse is committing adultery after the conference, you're not going to be satisfied in your marriage. But we talked about doing this unto Christ, who stands beyond the shoulder of your spouse. That Christ said, as you've done it to the least of these, you've done it to me. And even Paul in Ephesians says, ask to the Lord, ask to the Lord. That's his refrain. And one of the things I didn't know how people would receive this, I said to men, you love your wife because Jesus Christ is standing beyond her. Whether she's dissing you or not, you be this loving, honorable man toward Christ. It should spill out onto her because you're loving Christ. And wives, you are to reverence Christ, not your husband, but Christ stands beyond the shoulder of your spouse. You are to be a respectful woman. You can carry the truth with your words, but do so in a respectful way. You're not going to lose power. You're not going to lose a sense of identity. But Christ is there. So we who are Christ followers, this has become a tremendous incentive because some people have lost hope in their marriage. And I point out, every time we do that, it touches the heart of Christ. He is well pleased. We'll hear, well done, good and faithful servant. Do we really believe there's coming a moment when the Lord will say, I watched how you treated your wife. She dissed you. I get it. But you loved me. You loved her in that process. This wasn't about your wife. Sam Osier, who's our good buddy, said, wow, it's not about my wife and me. It's about Christ and me. And Sam was deeply moved by that. And many men and women have been. So that's where...
Sam is on wife number 5 right now. Just kidding. No, that's so cool because I know Sam and Cindy, and it's kind of interesting because I think it's the same thing. If you say, I really am a serious Christ follower, suddenly you think, you know what, I can do this if I get the idea that he wants me to do it. it does change it a little bit. It's not just pragmatism. It's the idea that it will please him who died for me.
That's right. It's not sociology. This is a deeply, if Christ is there, and I was not raised in a Christian home, if Christ is there, if this is real, this is true truth, then when I do this unto Christ, and if he's really there, and this is really, then my spouse actually affords me the opportunity to honor Christ, to express my love for Christ. This becomes a very exciting thing in those moments of heated fellowship. And we have found, Eric, thousands of couples applying this. They write me. People have said they don't know of anybody who gets as many emails as you get, Emerson. People who have been in a 30-year marriage where it's been sad and suddenly, the ecstasy that people are experiencing. And even people whose spouse has issues and they're now doing this unto Christ, this has been just so meaningful to them because I make this point, nothing is wasted, everything counts.
Whoa. Okay, folks, we're going to be right back. I'm talking to Emerson Eggerichs. The book is Love and Respect, the website loveandrespect.com. Hey, stick around.
Living in a danger zone, the world could end tomorrow, but I'm not gonna let it bother me tonight. I'm not gonna let it bother me tonight. Tomorrow I might go as far.
It's the Eric Metaxas Show. I'm talking to my friend Emerson Eggerichs about the differences between men and women. The number one difference that I have observed, this is without exception, men love the Three Stooges, women hate them. I have yet to meet a woman who loves the Three Stooges, but guys know that they're inherently great. And that just proves the difference between men and women. Anybody says there's no difference between men and women, it's like, what about the Three Stooges?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, what about this? The wife says, I have nothing to wear. What she means is she has nothing new. Her husband says the same thing, I have nothing to wear. And what he means is he has nothing clean.
There you go. You've been in this business for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, well, I like the Three Stooges one, though. That's new. I'll take that one.
It's incontrovertible
exactly.
evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, I defy you. Find a woman, a real woman, who loves the Three Stooges. Ding! No. Anyway, but it is funny, Emerson, because at the heart of all this is we're talking about this celebration, really, between the difference between men and women, that God created us differently on purpose. He did it on purpose. And anybody who says, well, I don't know about all of that, I have to say, look at what the Bible says. Now, if you're willing to throw the whole Bible out for this trendy new thing, whether it's transgenderism or any of this kind of stuff, I would be careful, because this is not something that the Bible says and that's it. But there have been centuries and centuries of this kind of observable difference between men and women. And you just said earlier that there's the tremendous evidence recently that men respond in a certain way to conflict. They walk away. Women respond in a certain. It's just something people are kind of afraid to talk about. It's one of the reasons I get excited to have you on, is because this is, not only is this true, but people's marriages are depending on understanding this.
Well, that's my campaign, to create mutual understanding, not to pigeonhole. We always think bell curve, there's exceptions to everything. But even from a scientific standpoint, there's an XXXY chromosome that is not going away. It is there from science. And one of the things it's interesting.
What if I wear my hair differently? Can I get rid of that chromosome difference?
Yeah.
No?
Well, you look beautiful the way you are.
Thank
but
you.
I think that the issue here is not to try to belittle people as much as create understanding, because my mom and dad fought, and how many people are fighting, and a lot of it's due to the fact that they just didn't understand each other's heart as a male and female. And as we pointed out, Christ said, have you not read, he who made them from the beginning made them male and female. And I was not a Christian, but I came to a point where I had asked myself, do I believe that's true? And I came to a point where I trust Christ. I trust what he's saying here, and that God designed us in order for us to have that peace and contentment in our relationships. He wants us to have that. And that's my campaign.
I would say that's the most pragmatic reason to think about becoming a Christian. If you want to save your marriage, if you care about marriage, this is really this is so beautiful and it's so clear. And I think the principles work even if you aren't a Christian. But it's amazing to me how God makes it really clear that He wants our marriages to work. People need to know that. Like, it's the will of God that your marriage work. We're out of time. I'm sorry, a couple seconds left.
Well, just the 15-day plan on our loveandrespect.com thing, that this will give people a taste of this. It really works. The 15-day plan at loveandrespect.com. It's free. I want people to taste this.
You said it's free? It's free. Emerson Eggerichs, seriously, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Folks, the new book is Before You Hit Send. Go to loveandrespect.com. You can find all this stuff there. Thank you for listening.